What it is, my middle aces, I'm about to do a reaction video to 10 really disturbing true horror stories. Alright? This video is by Nightmare Files, so make sure y'all head over there and check it out. The link to the original video will be in the description down below. Alright?
My first time doing a reaction video to this guy's video.
Alright, now
somebody hit me up in the comments down below and asked me to do this reaction video.
and that is why I am doing it now. Alright? Now, this video is like 28 minutes long. I only have like 29 minutes on the camera. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut them in half, alright? I'm going to react to 5 of them. And then I will react to the other 5, alright? Now, we finna get into this thing, guys. I hope y'all ready.
Maybe slide back in the DMs.
And let's go, bruh. No, bruh. No. Yeah. I ain't scared. Never scared.
A few years ago, I took my family up to the cabins by the lake because I just won a big case against some drug dealer.
This voice sound familiar though, bruh.
My wife woke me up shaking my shoulder pretty hard. She told me that someone was banging on our door. I thought to myself, why would someone come to our cabin in the middle of the night? I got up to go check the door. My wife tried to hand me my bat, but I told her I wouldn't need it. The person kept knocking and I opened the door.
Open the door for him.
Standing there. I asked him, "What are you doing here?" Then he started running. So
that's set
I
up,
chased
bro.
after him as my wife watched. He kept running in circles. Then he tripped and I grabbed him and asked him, "Why are you knocking at our door in the middle of the night?" The boy said, "'Cause my uncles told me to." I asked, "What? Why?" The boy hesitated and looked me straight in my eyes and said, "To get you out of the house." Simultaneously, I hear my wife scream out my name in horror, and I hear footsteps running right behind me. I turn around and I see 4 headed men running toward me. I reacted so quick that I ran over the kid. I see my...
That's what I would have did. Stand in my way, you get mowed, bruh. Like Paul said, you get mowed, but get mowed. And then especially when I got a scat too.
Everybody get knocked down, bruh. Don't play with me.
Wife, and she ran off the porch ready to swim it back, but I yelled at her to get back inside and called the cops. The guys were chasing me and were about 15 feet behind me. I made it inside the cabin, grabbed my cell phone, and I called the cops. When the police officers arrived, they noticed that those guys went through our car and stole some of my information. Who were those guys?
That's why you should keep your doors locked, bro.
I know the situation could have been worse. They could have went inside the cabin with my kids and my wife, but what did they want with me? After that night, we never went back to that cabin.
Better not. Die immediately. This dude is better than Mr. Nightmare, bruh.
The first time I moved away from home,
Home to see
I
it.
lived in an old cabin in the woods that I rented for really cheap. I'd never had a good night's sleep there. I always tossed and turned and woke up several times during the night. But it wasn't until after a few weeks that things got really weird. In the beginning,
Was it an
it
eyeball
was
in
just
the
small
house?
things that I really didn't think about too much, like keys missing and cups and plates not being where I left them. Then I started waking up in the morning to find various drawers open and things laying out around like someone had been in a hurry searching for something. I even came home to a wide open main door and decided to change the locks. But even then, when I was home, with the door locked, I could walk past and just in the corner of my eye, see the door slide open. One time,
You
I
gonna
was
stay
cat
there?
sitting one of my friend's cats in. It would just sit for hours in the middle of the room and toss its tail from side to side and watch as if it was following something around the room with his eyes. It creeped me out. If you can only imagine what it felt like to see this cat slowly following something that floats randomly around the room and finally stop right beside you, imagine how that would feel. After a while, I just could not live there anymore and finally moved out.
Look at, bro. If you live in a haunted house, bro, you need to run immediately. Something's gonna be done threw you out the window, bro. The cat know. The cat know.
This story is totally true. It happened to me when I was about 4 years old. My dad used to really like going on vacation with me and my family. One time, we went to what I think was Big Bear, but I'm not sure.
Never been there before.
Anyways, we rented a cabin. I don't remember much, but I remember the inside of the cabin was beautiful. The furniture was all colorful and decorated in Christmas colors, but it was around Christmas time. It was very roomy, and it was 2 floors and had its own den, kitchen, and bedroom. We arrived during the day, and everything seemed normal. When night came, however, we started hearing noises. It sounded like someone was shaking the front doorknob trying to get in. I was the first to notice, and I told my mom, but she didn't believe me. Then she saw it too. For a couple of minutes, the front doorknob just kept shaking by itself, and we were too afraid to go look out the door. Then we heard another noise. It sounded like steel hitting steel. Then it stopped.
You know what you do in that situation? Shoot through the door, bruh. If you shoot through that door, whoever's on the other side of that door gonna get the worst end of a shotty, bruh. You know, get a shotgun, cause shotgun gonna blow that door off, alright? So whoever out there get knocked back 30 feet, 12 gauge pump action. Milesburg.
My dad was afraid someone was trying to break in. So we packed up all of our things so we could leave. But before we did, my dad called the police and asked them to come search the premises. We exited out the back door because the noises were coming from the front. Our car was down the hill from the back of the cabin. I fell asleep in the car and woke up the next morning in a small rinky-dink motel room that was nothing as roomy and beautiful as the cabin. I was so bummed, but I was quickly relieved we had left because later that day, we found out who was making those noises. The police had arrived there and searched the outside and found nothing. Then they went inside and found a man that had 2 hooks instead of hands. He had been twisting the doorknob with his hook. Then he clashed his hooks together, and that's what we heard was it still on steel. We found out that about 5 minutes after we left the cabin, he successfully broke in and started searching for us. The police found bodies stashed in the upstairs closet. When we were on our way home from the motel, we stopped at a gas station near the cabin where the madman had tried to break in. My mom knew it was a bad idea, but my dad told her to relax. The cops took care of that guy. He's nowhere near us. We all went into the little shop to buy some candy and snacks. We were quite surprised when we came out of the shop and headed back to our car. There was a note on the hood that read, "There's more of us. See you soon." It's safe to say that we never went back to that cabin again.
Man, look here, bruh. Look here. Buy a gun, bruh. Buy a gun, alright? That's the only thing that's gonna protect you in this situation. Those hook hands can't withstand bullet penetrating his body, but they can't protect him, bruh. Huh? Get Desert Eagle. Get Desert Eagle. Shotgun. AK. stock up on weapons, bruh. Ain't nobody gonna fool with you then. That's what you gotta do, bruh. 100%.
My friend told me this story about him and his family going camping at these campgrounds. His brother worked there, and they were really cool with the family that owned it. On the second day, as it was getting dark, my friend and his brother, who was a regular counselor there for the past few years, went for a walk, which led them down the winding dirt road to another cluster of cabins. They could both tell there was something wrong, but they couldn't place it. My friend several years later told me that it felt like something looked completely ordinary, but it didn't feel like it was ordinary. His other brother would attribute to what he noticed next. The furthest cabin from the entrance had all the windows closed. Then he heard a loud thud, and then the lights in the cabin were on. Now, it wasn't uncommon for the other cabins to be rented out by hunters in the winter, so he left it alone even though he still had a strange vibe and decided not to investigate further. The next morning during breakfast, he was speaking to the camp director and casually asked him how many other cabins he was planning on renting that hunting season, and mentioned that he had noticed that another cabin was being used back towards the far side of the camp. The director had a stunned look on his face, and then told him to call the police, and that they weren't renting out any of the other cabins that weekend. The police showed up, and after a 2-hour standoff in the middle of the woods, ended with a man in custody. For the past 3 weeks, there had been a dangerous man hiding out in the summer camp. My friend didn't know at the time, but later was told by his brother that they took him out. He was starving and unshaved. He had a rifle, pistol, and a shotgun, and 2 duffel bags full of valuables that had been taken during violent break-ins over the past month in the surrounding counties. Ever since then, we're more cautious about what we run into in the woods.
I ain't hear nobody yet saying anything about a weapon, bro. About having a weapon with them. Nobody yet.
I work in an outdoor field and lead trips regularly. I once led a trip to the top of Mount Stringer in North Carolina.
I got chills, bruh.
It's a tough climb to get to the top and about 6 miles from the nearest road. I was leading a group of 8 middle school kids and had 1 co-instructor. We were camping out on top of the mountain, and it was a beautiful night with the full moon. The kids and the other co-instructor went to bed in their tents. I chose to spend the night in the hammock that night. I was really into the book I was reading, so I stayed up until around 10:30 p.m. I turned my headlamp off to settle in for the night. Everything around me was rather bright from the moon and from the position I was in. I could see down the trail we had hiked to get up to the top. I lay there enjoying the scenery and noticed something moving on the trail. Bears are common in the area, so I perked up. As it got closer, I could tell it was a person. We were in the middle of nowhere, and there was someone hiking up the trail with no headlamp on. I was just frozen watching this person move closer to our camp. He arrived at the top of the mountain where we were and just stopped. I watched as what appeared to be a man surveying our camp. I really could only see the outline of him. He stood there for what seemed like 30 minutes.
Man, you better shoot that outline, bro.
He then turned, sat down under a tree facing our camp. After that, he put some type of electronic device over his eyes, and it had a green glow by his eyes. I think they were night vision goggles.
You think?
He just sat there staring at our camp. So I closed my eyes and I left them open enough so I could see. He then started to rub his pants. I had no idea what to do, honestly. I decided to wait it out, so I just sat there, just staring at the man while he stared at my camp. This went on until about 3:30 a.m. Then he stood up. He took a moment to survey my camp, and a few minutes later, he went back down the trail he came up on. I, to this day, have no idea what that was all about, but it definitely freaked me out. I was paranoid that we were being followed for the rest of the trip. I couldn't enjoy it. But anyways, I hope that never happens again.
No. Look here, guys. I'm gonna end the video right here, man. Yeah, these here, bro. He got Mr. Nightmare with these, bro. He is talented, bro. I'm gonna finish these though, guys. All right. I hope y'all enjoy this you know, this story, and I will upload part 2 of this. I hope y'all enjoyed it though, man, because the link will be in the description down below, so y'all can check this out. All right. Yeah. I'm out this thing, my middle aces. Peace.